Hi, good morning, and thank you for tuning in to Show Studio Live Panel Discussions. In these discussions, experts from all parts of the industry discuss and debate the most important Fashion Week shows of the season. Today, we're in the midst of Milano Fashion Week, and we're going to be discussing the Max Mara Spring-Summer 2020 collection. Here to help me with that are my beautiful panelists. Thank you for coming, welcome. And also one of my best friends, Joshua Castro. So why don't we start the introductions with you, babe?
As Sophie said, I'm Joshua Castro. I'm a fashion consultant. I help small brands build themselves up, like getting them into stores and helping them design parts of the collection. Like I helped Sophie design the print for her collection.
Hi, I'm Bella Gladman. I'm a fashion writer and editor, and yeah, I'm really excited to be here.
I'm Gigi Hari, not Hadid, and I'm a model, and yeah, that's pretty much it.
Hi, my name is Georgia Moot. I'm a model and presenter.
Amazing, thank you. I'm Sophie Hermann. You might know me from Made in Chelsea, but I am also a fashion designer and influencer. So let's talk about Max Mara a little bit before we're going to look into the collection. I've made a little bit of research. I mean, the brand has been established by Achille Maramotti in 1951. Why do you think it's still pretty much like it's been a consistent success all these years?
I mean, you know, if you look at like lots of the Italian sort of luxury houses, you know, Max Mara has stayed within the family the entire time, which is actually kind of similar to Fendi, which has still got Silvio Venturini Fendi at the helm. There's also Etro, still in the Etro family, Prada as well. So I think there is this sense, at least in Italian fashion, that, you know, you keep it in the family and the family know what's good, which I think probably keeps it feeling harmonized across time, rather than having a constant sort of carousel of different creative directors that really change the kind of direction. If you think about Celine, obviously it's changed massively from like the Phoebe Philo era to the Eddie Slimane era.
Absolutely.
Obviously Max Mara, keeping that continuity, has kind of kept that sort of Max Mara-ness there.
It's kind of like an Italian attitude anyways, you know, you keep it in the family, you know what's good, you're not going to change with that foolproof recipe, basically, just like a good pasta.
Oh, absolutely.
Completely.
Georgia, you were saying earlier that, you know, you can always tell like a Milan show.
Yeah, but I was going to say, I think Max Mara has been so successful for so long because it's just so classic. Like the tailored pieces and the kind of beiges, the camel, the knit, like you know that that's Max Mara and that's always going to be in demand. Everyone's always going to be looking for like an amazing fitting trouser, and you know, oh, I can go to Max Mara and get that.
And
like,
it's going to last for generations.
And I think they haven't kind of strayed or done anything too crazy. They've always kind of just built on their own message, and I think that is quite a kind of Italian thing. I think the Italian brands are always very recognizable. Like when you watch a show, you can be like, I can tell that's in Milan. Like I know that is, you know, they always.
And most of the time, they're not too experimental. They're more about quality.
Or even if they are, it's like with Emilio Pucci, with the crazy like patterns. You can tell that's Emilio Pucci, and it's like it's kind of daring and crazy, but it's always within the same realm, and it's always within like with the beautiful fabrics, the beautiful colors, and I just think. Yeah, Italian brands have a real knack for kind of staying very true to themselves, but not letting it get boring, which I admire.
I think a lot has to do with Ian Griffiths being there since like 1987, and he's been like at the helm for so long. So he's really like kept that brand with the jackets and the pencil pants
and the crisp white shirts. He actually, you know, he won a student competition in '87, also the year I was born, by the way. Many good things happened that year. So he won a student competition and basically started working for the house of Max Mara and has stayed there ever since.
So that is a lesson to us all to like work your way up. Like,
basically.
But I think, there definitely is like a sense of loyalty with these brands. And I think we're kind of we have been in the age where, you get like a new creative director at the helm every year, every couple of years, and it's kind of, you're like, oh, what are they going to do for that brand? Whereas with a lot of the Italian brands, it's kind of, you can tell that it's one person at the helm, kind of
It's
honing
interesting
it.
how he stayed under the radar so well as well, and how the Marinotti family are not like so out there. If you think of the Versace family, how Donatella puts herself out there, the Marinotti are like one of the richest families there is in Italy. And they're not like screaming and shouting about it, they're just keeping it all
worldwide, according to Forbes, by the way. But Bella and me, actually, we spoke about it before, that normally when you think about Max Mara, it's not the first name that drops into your mind as Ian Griffiths, right?
Well, I think, you know, we were talking about this before, but ultimately, if you'd asked me last week who the Max Mara creative director is, I would have really had to think for a long time before remembering it's Ian Griffiths. And I think what's so interesting is, in contrast to, let's say, Balenciaga in Paris, and you've got this, you know, the star designer like Dominic Vasalia, or, you know, Céline, Hedi Slimane, instead of having that designer as a front and center, bringing their unique genius magic to the house and that being the story, is actually that Max Mara has been like the big name, and then the designers have worked sort of almost sort of under the radar there. It's almost a little bit like Margiela, how, you know, although obviously we know who Margiela, that he's there, but it's that idea of the kind of like the brand being the solidified thing and the designers coming to do their work, but having their own personal self rather than kind of, I guess, the cult of the design genius, so to speak.
Absolutely.
Because we were talking about how Karl Lagerfeld worked there.
Dolce & Gabbana.
Dolce & Gabbana, they freelanced there anonymously.
Narisco Rodriguez.
Jean-Charles de Castelbrajac.
It's not a competition, doll.
We all know our facts.
So, ultimately they've had, you know, this, you know, they've really brought in this amazing design kind of talent that, but instead of sort of basing their narrative and their story on these kind of like more celebrity designers, they've actually kind of let the clothes do the talking, I guess.
Exactly.
So, but Gigi, actually, I wanted to ask you about the casting because, you know, obviously our sisters, Gigi and Bella, are also in the show.
I mean, I'm so glad that you just announced that we've got Gigi and Bella here, everyone. Applause. So, I mean, it's a great honor, finally, both of you in my studio.
But yeah, what did you think about the kind of girls they've chosen?
I mean, I think they've kind of gone for, obviously, like a lot of the big girls, so there's us. And then...
You look great, by the way. I love the new pink look.
Thank you. And I think it's kind of, the casting in Milan never seems to like differ too far from like classic kind of high fashion model that we're used to. And I think they've started to kind of bring in a lot more like women of color, I've noticed. But
they do the hijab as well. They were the first in Milan. And there was a girl in this collection as well.
Yeah. But I feel like, they've brought in a lot more like women of color, and you can like see it like quite scattered throughout. It's not like 20 like European girls and then like 2 black girls, 1 Asian. Like there's a good like diverse cast.
I don't think though that they stray very far, and I think this is kind of talking about Milan shows in general. I don't think, even though they're increasing their diversity as in like their kind of ethnic and cultural diversity, I don't think, you know how New York or London, you get really cool people on the runway, you're getting size inclusion, you're getting, they still have a lot of the big girls, and they book a lot of the big girls, but like Max Mara book a lot of the big girls season after season, which is in some ways nice, because it's nice to have, again, like we were saying, that sense of loyalty and that kind of continuity that I think a lot of Italian brands have. But I do also think there's room to kind of maybe introduce a slightly more interesting cast alongside.
I agree.
Yeah, because they've booked kind of a lot, like Gigi, Bella.
I mean, it all started with Gigi Hadid starring in their campaign in 2017, right?
Yeah.
And I think they actually turned the brand into a much more younger demographic now, which is awesome, actually, because now you can see like many generations can wear the same things and style it differently, but still look, you know, equally chic throughout. But I definitely think, like, or do you agree with me that Gigi Hadid pushed the brand into a younger market?
I don't know. I think it's always been quite like across all ages, as in like my grandma is so incredibly stylish. She's Danish, so it runs in her blood.
Nice.
And she would wear like Max Mara, like a sort of get it at one of her like second-hand shops in Wimbledon, and be like, oh, this thing, I picked it up for like 15 quid, and it's like this chic Max Mara knit.
Amazing.
But then I would also look at that and be like, okay, well, when you're tired of that, can I have it? Because it's like, or, you know, she'd be wearing these trousers and I'd be like, oh my God, I've been looking for a pair like that. So I do think it's kind of always, it's like I said earlier, because it's those classic cuts and those kind of quite...
that are going to last throughout.
Yeah, and those kind of neutral tones.
Well.
Yeah, I think that it's something that I don't ever think was kind of aimed at one specific age or one specific audience. I think it kind of transcended. But I do agree, like, they know what they're doing by using the Bellas, by using Joan Smalls, Gigi. They're trying to kind of bring it into this.
And look, there we just had you guys, Gigi, Bella, and Kaya, Dowdson, and Candice all walking like a Max Mara army across the catwalk. I mean, that obviously sends a message, right?
Very old days, Versace actually
True.
doing that.
Exactly.
Just send all those supermodels.
Very old days Versace, or even like a 90s Chanel, where you did the Chanel army
That's what I
in the
mean,
whole
it does
pastel.
feel like they still are quite, that's what I mean about they don't stray too far from like kind of traditional. That's like my main word that comes to mind when I think of Milan. It's quite traditional. They don't necessarily stray.
That's Italy as a whole, no? Like it's traditional on the food, traditional on the clothes, and that's why Italy's so strong, because they've narrowed it down.
And while I don't always agree with tradition, but I do admire that they kind of keep it. But it is, like you said, quite 90s, that supermodel army, kind of even the walking in threes that they do every season, or they have done for like the past two.
It's just such a strong look about like women walking out together. It's always an impact.
And it's always like the same outfit, but with like a variation of color or something. And it's like it's like they know how to kind of, they know how to make it.
That's how I rock up at every Halloween, by the way.
Me and my friends. That's how I walk into Tesco Express.
I think what you said about it being like an army, I think is a really interesting point, because obviously you've got like the military kind of like detail in like the pockets. You've got those like sort of army caps. The braids feel quite like a sort of squaddy kind of hairdo. Well, you know, for like the girl squads. And I think it's that kind of. It does feel quite like an sort of.
Going to war collection.
It does feel like an hour. No, but these braids would survive Tough Mudder any day.
Exactly. I didn't really pick up on that, but you're completely right.
I mean, the hats are also. I mean, the hat is literally a
Stormer
military.
hat. Actually, quite Second World War German.
Great. Let's bring that up. Speaking of their 2020 collection, for their resort collection, actually, was hosted in Berlin at the Neues Museum. Me, as a fellow German, I was immensely impressed with that, because it commemorated the 30-year anniversary of the Mauerfall, the fall of the Berlin Wall, and Ian Griffith hosted it in Berlin to also pay homage to his major inspirations, David Bowie and Marlene Dietrich. And I loved this collection. Like, it was so strong. It really kind of like also crystallized the essence of Berlin out, which I loved.
What I thought was really interesting about that resort collection is that, you know, in comparison to having like the Gigis who kind of bring that like youthful kind of energy to things, in the resort collection, they had Ute Lemper and also Carolyn Murphy. So Carolyn Murphy, she's a model, environmental activist, particularly in ocean conservation now. She's like mid-40s. Then Ute Lemper, she's a German singer.
I love how you say Ute.
So maybe I'm pronouncing it sweet.
No, you're doing great. No, I love it.
She's so she's in her mid-50s. And so again, kind of so these sort of beautiful women with amazing life experience, you know, really conveying this sense of elegance. And for this resort collection, it obviously felt very sort of Berlin arty, that deep cultural weight. And then this, you know, with this spring-summer collection, it's feeling a lot more youthful and a little bit more sort of not aggressive per se, but like prepared to battle. And there's definitely been a kind of mood of sort of slight military things.
But it's the battle of pastels, of the Powerpuff Girls. So I love it.
Powerpuff soldiers.
But it really, you know, like what you just said, having all of these, you know, not super young, but established, empowered women in the fashion show before, and now bringing back the Kaya Gerbers and Hadids in the world, that actually is the brand. You know, it is for the young and the more mature generation. So, and I think that resembles the brand perfectly, actually.
What do you think of the makeup? Because normally Max Mara does such a fresh-faced look.
That's very true. And
this black
there's the goth lip.
Yeah,
they probably tried to do a chiaro scuro, kind of, you know, like light and dark contrast.
And the Wednesday
Spring,
Addams.
summer as well.
It's quite hot.
Seems quite harsh for a spring, summer, but I'm kind of feeling it. Maybe it's a goth spring, summer that we're going to have.
I think it's going back to that army girl, like you were saying. It's like we're going to war. Is that like a...
Maybe it's like the war paint, you know, when in rugby you do these two, like...
No, but that's a good point.
It's still really soft, though. Like, it's like that, like, frosty, like, Y2K, like, pale blue. So it's still quite fresh. It's just the lip is like... Hi, I'm ready to go.
It's after that old recipe, like
Max Mara do such like a full-on makeup. It's always that room we're ready to go.
It's normally quite like blushy and fresh face.
And a lot of highlighter.
Quite sort of golden and like big hair. That's what I imagine Max Mara to be.
That Italian way.
We have actually seen a lot of dark lips coming on for spring summer because we had them at Molly Goddard, and so, you know, obviously it's beautiful, like, you know, pastel tulle. Again, it's the pastels, but with this punchy lip that's so dark and like giving that kind of black like lipstick on there, which I think is really interesting. It's like, yes, I may be dressed in this sort of pastel like frothy outfit, but like listen to what I'm saying, I mean business.
Exactly, I came prepared.
Yeah, the power of femininity, absolutely. It's not been, if Max Mara before, maybe in its like 80s kind of heyday, was a bit like power dressing.
Rocky.
So, oh yeah, with the aviators.
Yeah, that's just like out there. And with the big shoulder.
Yeah.
You got the memo.
I clearly did.
The thing is, it's got that power in it, but it's also very, very feminine. So it's not like, you know, dressing like a man to be powerful. It's like, I'm a woman, I know my
with
feminine
those feminine
power.
fabrics as well,
But I mean business. And Max Mara, I definitely think is like a, you know, to use a horrible hashtag, but hashtag girl boss kind of brand.
Yes.
It's very like, I am dominating the boardroom.
I think that's what I kind of love, is it almost takes that kind of working woman, like with the tailoring and the suits and their amazing jackets, and it's not kind of sexy and overtly feminine, like, let me show off my tits and my bum and my this, which I also think can be sometimes slightly Italian, which again I also love.
Very the Dolce Vita.
Yeah,
right
very
here.
like ba-ba-boom. But I don't have any tits. But I do think that I still look at these women, I'm like, or the collection, I'm like, that is so sexy. Like, I want to wear that, walk into a meeting with my red lip, take off my aviators and be like, I'm here.
Exactly.
Like, I came to, I mean business. Yeah. Like, it's just so cool that I think it's always bridged that gap in the market where it's like, clothes that women can wear to work or in a more professional setting, or to feel, women who feel like they want to wear something that's more put together, but not, it doesn't have to be kind of dowdy or boring, or and I think
then they want to be taken serious also in what they are rocking up to whatever meeting, and that's actually the philosophy behind what Achille Maramotti created with the brand, because he wanted to create something accessible and always continuously chic and elegant.
It looks like something you could kind of throw on, especially if that's your style.
And you know that's your to-go piece, and
like
that's
collection mixes together.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you can get anything from any collection. And
you know, you don't have to think about it too much, but you look like you've made an effort and you just look gorgeous. I love it. I love Max Mara's stuff.
I can really imagine you, like, you know, bossing all your business meetings, being like full head to toe Max Mara.
Yeah, with that like dark, like I don't know, how do you even call that? That berry shade that's like super dark. In German we call it the Brombeere. Anyway, but like that, I like that. You need a strong lip liner to hold that lipstick in place though.
Oh, yeah. That's also
That
that's
smeared
dangerous.
look is never good.
There's so many arms to this collection, like those strong sunglasses and the accessories. You can see they really know how to push those well, which is great.
I know. You could also like pass through Tough Mudder with those tight braids.
Just love those aviators.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're pretty massive. They're quite a statement.
It goes away from the whole tiny glasses trend that I just gotten used to. And they only look good when you wear it on the bridge of your nose.
Yes,
Never
it
But you
does
can't actually see
absolutely
anything
nothing.
through them. You have to sort of look down and be like...
Yeah, otherwise you look like you're doing
judging
the
you.
or whatever. And now I'm kind of glad actually we're back at the big
I
glasses.
just love
Oh, yeah.
This is just so great, like, when you're slightly hungover or you've
Exactly.
just, like, you know, you just want to...
The visor.
And you
You
can
know, that
hide
very-
everything behind.
Yeah, it reminds me of that kind of like 2000s paparazzi shots, like when you see them going through an airport and they're like, I don't want to, I've just got off a plane. I don't want to be seen.
I
Tom
still
Ford.
have a Chanel visor from I think 2002 that I shielded myself into boarding school with, and those were the days. Like I missed that, and then there was like always obviously Victoria Beckham. Like
She was the
over the
queen of
top.
the
she was the queen of those, like wearing them on the slopes with like a belly-free top. And I was like, what are you doing?
It just reminds me of very like that kind of celebrity paparazzi, like don't look at me, oh my god, like just
love
living my
that.
life, and I love that. It's that kind of like very over-exaggerated.
I just love that shield of being able to hide behind them so you can check people out without
You
them
need
seeing where
that
your
on the
eyes are
Milano
going.
scooters as well. With all
Yeah,
the
oh my god.
scooters.
Even with like the size of it, the gradient down the face is really nice because you can really see like the features like through it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
It's not hiding the face, but it's protecting your gaze.
Yeah.
Oh,
It's
lovely
almost like a
phrasing.
mysterious kind of like veil situation.
There was a shot of the bags as well, and they were huge. They looked
They
amazing.
were amazing.
Oh, yeah, wow.
That is unreal. I want that as like that is a weekend
That's a good
trip.
everyday bag.
I mean,
You've got a
I think
baby.
it's-
Your whole life in
I would
can schlep
absolutely love that
everything in
bag, but
that.
it's the kind of thing that you'd put too much stuff in and then give yourself like a back injury. I'm not gonna lie.
Start walking
If
like
it's
this.
always on one side, you got to level it out
Yeah.
after a while.
But
I wonder
that
if
to
they're
me,
selling that as luggage or a handbag.
but that's like mean to me. That's giving me like weekend away vibes. Like again, kind of walking through the airport, you got your big sunglasses. You're like, oh, darling, I'm just going on a quick weekend
going
trip
to
to
war.
Paris, you know. And you're like, I mean,
But then, you know, they do have their diversion lines, Max Mara Weekend, Sportmax, Max & Co. There's so many.
It's
and
like 35 or something
I know
like that. It's
Marina
insane.
Rinaldi, but I mean, that obviously resembles Max Mara Weekend to me because it is a weekender.
But the socks are very 90s Prada. Look at these.
I was getting a bit of a Prada vibe from this with the ties as
Me
well
too.
and the pockets as
Yeah.
well. That's a
I'm
very
so
sort of
happy
Prada
because
vibe.
I actually didn't really massively enjoy the Prada show yesterday. So I'm kind of like, I feel like
You got
this
your
is,
90s
yeah,
Prada
I feel like this is satisfying, yeah. I'm like, this is what I kind of wanted to see from Prada yesterday. Like, honestly, looking at this show, I'm more excited, even though it's maybe not as out there aren't as many prints as Prada was yesterday, but this to me feels more exciting, more like, oh, what can I incorporate into my wardrobe? Whereas watching Prada yesterday, I was a bit like,
Yeah.
I think what's really interesting about this is that like spring summer collections last year were very like beachy, like hippie kind of vibes, and there's been so much more tailoring coming through for this spring season. Like actually, you know, we've seen so much more suiting, and it's sort of like it's really interesting to see that for spring because you think spring normally it's like tie-dye, Hawaiian
Exactly.
things.
Florals for spring, groundbreaking.
Right.
So I completely
Paisley
understand you.
isn't always right there. There's a
No,
lot of
yeah,
Paisley
but
in this
They-
connection.
But what
You're
they do
very
is
on
they keep
brand.
it very
Exactly.
structured. Yeah, I know. You're in the old family fashion house here.
Actually,
as well.
Gigi's quite on brand already because you've got some socks going on. We've had some knee-high socks in there.
Yeah.
You're ahead of the sock game, definitely.
As many as you can have.
I also noticed we're kind of like vibing.
You really are.
We clearly got the memo.
Almost, just a little bit more power as well.
Yeah.
The colours are
I think
on.
the whole collection really goes along with the time of the whole, you know, female empowerment as well, and just underlines it that, yes, it is spring, but we don't need to do florals and romanticism all the time. And if we do it, then we add a black goth lip and right?
Yeah.
And make it a bit more edgy.
Because I feel like, sorry to cut over you, but I feel like actually Max Mara have been doing this sort of like female empowerment thing really since they started. And in a way, I feel like, you know, because it's become a massive cultural conversation, I don't feel Max Mara could have capitalized on that more and really like made their messaging much stronger of like, we've been doing this, we always knew that, you know.
Always go under the radar though. Like when you travel around, like their store in Hong Kong is absolutely huge. Every major city you go to, you see their presence.
They've got over 3,000 stores worldwide now.
But I find it so often when I ask someone about a piece, I'm like, oh my God, those trousers amazing, where are they from? It's so often, it's like, oh, Max Mara. And it's not necessarily what you first think of when you think of because they're not making the most noise. But I think they're so consistent.
Just on the radar.
Yeah, and I just think, I absolutely love them. And I also love how for spring summer they've still kind of kept true to their brand in terms of the jackets as well, because I feel like sometimes for spring summer it's like, let's do all these little dresses and maybe chuck on a slightly kind of like warmer weather jacket or something over, whereas they always kind of keep the trench and keep the stuff that they're really known for. Like when I think of them, I think of like a beautiful camel wool trench situation.
And a teddy bear or a trouser.
Yeah, and I
the
think
new classic, the teddy coat. But yeah, every girl has a crisp white shirt in her wardrobe. This is actually what they've been famous for since forever, or like the classic cigarette pants, and of course the camel coat. What kind of signature pieces would you take home from the collection?
You know, I was actually really thinking about all these kind of layered pockets, because there was some the looks that Gigi was wearing with a sort of like tailored, it was like a sort of grey tweedy kind of checked suit with some like overlaid kind of like almost a little bit like those utility vests that we've even seen in menswear.
Utility chic, it's a thing.
I'm down for the culottes.
Kind of
I'm loving the wide leg culottes.
Yeah.
It's doing it for me.
Yeah, I'm also interested in the short suit. Because
me too, I love that.
A good culotte,
So
a leather short suit.
Definitely something that's intriguing me,
Very
although
it's very, you know what it is? It's Julia Roberts by the pool in Pretty Woman. That like
so right. Yeah.
That's what it's giving me, and I love it. The whole like Bermuda pad with
that slippery little sucker.
That is good, but I love it because you see everything comes back, but better and improved and more tailored, and that's what I love.
do we think we're going to start wearing ties?
Probably not.
I think if it's tone on tone on tone, is their signature thing as well. It's like all these different, it's say the same nuances layered.
This doesn't feel stuffy the way they've done it. But I don't know if I could rock a tie without getting flashbacks to year 8. No, it's that like 7 a.m. in the morning trying to do on the school bus, like under and then through and then
the double Windsor.
Yeah, oh god, it just takes me back.
Short and fat as possible.
That's it, with the long bit, and then I always get
the tiny one.
But maybe they're already attached to it and they have a zip in the back. You never know. That would be clever.
You never know.
But you made a really good point with the tone on tone, because normally the collections come out and it's like one colour and then it changes to another colour, and this one doesn't seem to have done that, and they've added a lot of prints as well, and they don't normally do so many prints as well in their collection.
Yeah, I can see one print from that. I can see a lot of lavender.
There was just cadence,
and there's true, a little bit.
But it's still quite subtle. I don't think it's not prints in the way that it's kind of like, oh my god.
Them, though.
That's what I mean. It's kind of subtle, but for them that is like.
I'm not a fan of their prints. I honestly prefer their kind of plainer looks.
I agree.
I don't really particularly vibe with the polka dot stuff. It's
Mini polka dots not doing it.
They do know that that's gonna. We know through experience that that will sell. We know that polka dot. I mean, everyone's seen that.
the Zara dress.
Zara dress, yeah. Sorry.
It's true.
But it's like everyone knows that it's gonna sell, and I think that's again something that they tread so well, is that you never look at their runway, or if it's in editorial sometimes, you don't look at it and get bored. But like, you don't look at their collections and you don't think snooze. But you do also think that can sell. I can see that on someone. I'm looking at these pieces going, oh yeah, I want that. Like I can incorporate that into my day-to-day life. So I think they tread that line, which can be, because you do have to sell. Right? And that's why they're probably still doing
good at that.
well. Yeah.
And they're beautiful pieces as well, like you were saying before.
But it's not like kind of seeing, you know, something where it's like, oh, you're just doing this to sell. I'm not interested. I'm not invested. I'm not excited. They're still... Yeah, I think they just tread that line really well, and I definitely want some of the socks and
me too.
And their silks as well. I love a silk.
This is quite like a revolutionary collection for them, actually. It's really, they've really like done quite a few things that they don't normally do. For me, looking at this,
I mean, normally they keep it more in the natural tonings, right? And now it's a lot of the pastel, which I love when it's all, you know, like tone on tone and tone on tone with the tie and the hat and the sock, and off you go. I love it.
Or I feel like
it's a big statement about going to war and like what's going on with society at the moment.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think that's a really interesting point on the collection.
Prepared for battle.
Yeah, with everything that's going on.
I love how the military vibe is kind of juxtaposed with the pastels and the kind of quite pretty prints and the silks. So it's like, you've kind of, again, they've really struck that balance between like, yeah, we're gonna send like a military cap and like these kind of quite hard suited outfits down the runway, but then we're also gonna do it in a beautiful lavender.
And still look
feminine, and still appeal.
The, like, as you're saying, like the pockets and all of like the like add-on layers and stuff is almost kind of bubbled up from like the like Insta baddies with the Lara Croft outfits. Like the little bum bags and like the braids and like that like James Charles at Coachella with his butt out and then just like bags on top of it but no clothes kind of thing. And they've like brought it up to their like more classic vibe.
Yeah, they've brought that sort of like baddie aesthetic, but like on actually grown-up pieces that you know actual mature women would wear. If that makes sense as well.
We go up one, stop to the one to the left. That one's the only one where I'm a bit like.
Yeah, it's a bit meh.
So what we've got going
the
on
pockets
is
with the top over.
I think it's the print.
It looks like a fisherman.
I
think fisherman's fresh.
I just think it's slightly the print of the trousers and the top with the tie, and then with the blazer, and then with the tailoring, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's coming off a little bit M&S, that one. Oh God, that one.
Ooh, ouch.
spicy
No,
take.
but do you like that kind
Yeah,
of print with the trouser? I can see it amazing.
With the
And that's not a bad thing because it's a working woman. But I love M&S. But it's like, I just think that's not up there with the rest of the collection. And I'm not a massive fan of a super slimline blazer. I know it's maybe slightly more of like a feminine shape, but to me, again, it reads that kind of workwear that's not so fashion. But
they obviously design it also for their long-term customers, you know, and clearly there is a request for that. I completely agree with you that the print and the whole texture
who wants pockets up there as well?
No one really wants, unless you put your like how do you call that? Your fishing supply. But I have to say, I love the two other outfits next to it.
Middle one.
I want to move into that pastel blue
and
coat.
Pockets on the hips are amazing.
The t-shirt, it would just, you know, that's so simple, but it's got those shoulders on it, so you could literally wear that with any like simple bottom, but you'd automatically have this sort of like silhouette. You'd mean business. You know, it's a powerful thing, but something that's very simple, which I think is a very Max Mara way to do.
I love that they could take a simple white T-shirt and turn it into something structured and tailored and almost bespoke.
Because I think sometimes when you see a T-shirt going down the runway, you're a bit like, was there a point in that? Because especially as my shows aren't cheap. So sometimes you see outfits and you see a T-shirt and you feel like it's a bit of a filler piece or a bit of like you didn't need to send that down the runway, like, we get that. But I think with that outfit, you don't, and with this one as well,
And with
the
the,
right,
yeah,
you don't
one
think
here.
that. You are just like, oh wow, yeah, that makes a beautiful silhouette. Like, that looks expensive, I want to buy it.
And again, I mean, it doesn't matter how many times you tumble that through your dryer, it will last.
Yeah.
Because that's what the brand is all
That's
about, is the
also, like,
longevity.
even though I just completely shat on the outfit that we looked at earlier, I think it's still, I can imagine a woman who maybe has slightly more money and wants to like spend her money on good quality items. I can still imagine her wearing that and looking stunning.
Yes.
You know, it's just not maybe my personal taste, or it reminds me of a kind of more like not my professional working situation, but I can imagine some kind of woman in a board meeting wearing that and being like, you look amazing.
I mean, the leathers are stunning in the collection.
Yeah.
We haven't even talked about the
Oh, yeah. No, we need to have a whole...
The leather
at least
and the
10 minutes
satin.
on that.
I love the
Yes.
two.
Yeah.
Brown
Those
leather.
ones at the bottom.
That was my favourite, that brown leather.
Yeah,
one.
because that was actually reminding me of like Bottega Veneta. So
Yeah.
some of Daniel Lee's stuff is really, he's brought that kind of like soft leather in.
Have the brown
which-
leather pieces, please.
That was, yeah, because, yeah,
stunning.
last
That's
collection
my
for
favourite,
Bottega, there was that kind of like leather vest. And also, obviously, at Celine, when Daniel Lee was there, Phoebe Philo did those beautiful leather T-shirts that were really buttery. And it's so...
Buttery is a great word for leather.
you know, it's like it's very luxurious in a way that it's sort of like limousine kind of level luxury.
I love that.
It does.
Limousine.
A limousine leather. No, I know what you mean.
It's like also leathers for summer. That is groundbreaking.
Yeah.
True.
You know? It's
Actually,
Sweaty.
very sweaty.
You know, like
what I'm
sometimes
thinking.
you see those women and they're wearing like a leather trouser with like a vest top in summer, and you're like, how are you not dripping? But you look so good. Like they're just powdered, they're
All had
dewy but
laser.
not sweaty. They're like, and you just walk past that. I walk past that woman on the tube, and I'm like, fuck, I want to be you.
But you just don't see
Instead,
what's
I'm
going on
me,
inside.
sweating. Yeah.
yeah. I guess that's the difference also between quality Max Mara leather and pleather.
Yeah, that's true.
Leather is almost a schwitzy guarantee.
So,
But that kind of also gives me, I mean, I'm not too sure about the middle dress situation. It's a bit like a German butcher, going back to the Berlin Wall collection. I'm not loving that. It also gives me a bit, again, of that fisherman's kind of like I'm going deep into the river here.
But I
like
think
the
quite a
weight
few
Yeah,
of the
yeah, like I always wanted these for Glastonbury. Yeah, what are they called?
Waders.
Wader. Yeah, you wade through it. Yeah.
they come up to like crotch
Yeah, and then
height.
they go out.
I've always looked for women's ones for Glastonbury because I thought like if I'm gonna be like thigh deep in mud, it's
might
gonna
as
be
well.
in waders,
Yeah.
and it's no
and
market
get yourself
for that.
a little fishing jacket as well, and they have so many little pockets, and it's perfect for festivals.
So maybe
You put all
perfect.
your
It's a
shit in.
Glastonbury collection
Your
by Max
tackle.
Mara.
Hide all your
Nailed
tackle.
it.
Yeah, got your bait, you know, everything.
what I would say about the silhouette of that leather dress is that then obviously it's repeated in the satins later on for
Yes.
the finale.
True.
And I think personally for me, I really love them in the satins because it's just that real slinky kind of.
It's
it
a
really-
completely different look in the satin.
It reminds me of like early Helmut Lang kind of
Yes.
stuff.
Very
Yeah.
90s. Yeah,
That,
yeah.
you know, that kind of like satiny effect, and it's like you said, like the Y2K kind of colours are really coming through. It feels very futuristic where it's gone at those ending looks.
And also quite lingerie as well.
Yeah, but then they keep it back together with the matching boots, whereas they don't pair it with like a strappy sandal or like, I don't know, a little wedge or whatever.
Yeah, that's so interesting,
Right?
actually.
I think they make it quite accessible. Also for cities, I mean, in London, it also doesn't get that hot that quickly. So you always need some sort of climate protection.
Yeah, what I would say about those boots as well, it kind of keeps that kind of like toughness and the military thing
Absolutely,
going
exactly.
with something that, yeah, like you said, if they put it with like, you know, a dainty shoe, a little strappy sandal, which we've seen so much like, you know, last spring, summer was all about like the sort of barely there kind of sandal, and now we're seeing these boots come through.
I think
Yeah.
that would have
Very
made it too
interesting.
pretty.
Yeah.
Like, too kind of,
Yeah,
they're
the
still keeping
juxtaposition
it.
is a lot.
Yeah. I love the the satin looks are my favourite.
I think that
by
shoulder's
far.
very sport max 90s, no?
It's isn't that called an American neckline anyways? When it's kind of the typical Jennifer Aniston
Yeah.
go to like, let's show off my shoulders.
Like a halter.
Yeah, this is like a Tracy Anderson workout body, I think.
Yeah.
So that's going on.
Exactly, yeah.
We've also got this sort of pinafore thing, which I think you were pointing out with
Yes.
like the German butcher kind of apron look. But the pinafore seems like the more practical, kind of a practical or like getting to work kind of thing. And then you've got this sort of more racerback kind of sporty vest look. So it is, again, that sense of like action, dynamism, like getting to work. None of these things are like, and off the shoulder, like, you know, the off the shoulder thing has been so big, but it's a little bit impractical.
Yeah. There's something there for every point of the day. Is what you're saying. Like you start and actually it does go from day to evening quite well. You're right,
I do also think that the kind of pinafore situation does make it slightly different to the other million slip dresses or kind of satiny things that you see that could be kind of any brand, you know, like the kind of whether it's like even a COS or like a Philippa K or a Theory or, you know, that kind of it elevates it that little bit more away from the high street, and it gives it a little bit more interest that I think I mean, it doesn't need, but it adds to it.
Again, with the boots, like you're saying, it really just elevates it.
It elevates the whole look, and here we see the full pastel army again. I have to say, those are my favorite, absolute favorite
three together
looks.
just
Yours
looks
too,
so good.
Gigi. I can
Very
see you
on
in
brand.
that.
Very on brand.
Like you said, it's like this. It's the trio. It's the kind of solidarity in numbers kind of thing.
Yes.
Like actually, it's not just about like an individual woman, but it's a woman working together with people, and it's like the collective force of womanhood.
Exactly, who have each other's back and also like kind of empower itself, because one pastel comes seldom alone, I guess.
A rainbow doesn't make.
It's the lingerie army, which I love as well. It goes with the whole macaroon kind of vibe as well.
Also, I love, because if that was in like a khaki or a black, you would be like, oh, autumn, winter.
Yeah.
But it's like, I just, again, it's that juxtaposition where it's like military, quite harsh, quite like, you know, the boot. It's not overtly spring, summer, but then they come in with these colours and you're like, oh yeah, of course I can wear that in March.
Would you wear a hat and shoes and a jacket and a tie all the same colour?
Yeah.
I mean, I felt like, you know, one thing you can say about this is it is very much like, you know, you can see that as the full head to toe look is a very kind of Instagrammable, content ready thing, because it instantly will make a difference on a feed. So, you know, for like, you know, for the people wearing this, you know that if you do the full look, then that's instantly going to kind of create an impact. It is quite bold, even if it is in a muted tone. So I just think it's quite interesting to have that head to toe thing for maximum impact. And
I wonder if that will make it into store, that full head to toe look, because they
think-
normally water it down further.
But I think you could then maybe walk into store, because even if I saw that on a mannequin, walk into a store, I would think, strong, but I can take the shorts, or I can take the top, take away the tie. So I do think that it's still selling it, the individual pieces, but it's giving more of an effect as a whole look. But women can walk into any store, walk past the window and be like, that's a bold look, but I'm just going to take one part.
You can dissect it a little bit and
still
and
comes
choose your
as
favorite
separate.
pieces.
I mean, that first image would make an amazing window, actually, just the three of them
love
in
that.
their pastels.
Yeah. What do you think their inspiration for the colors was?
I mean, I'm hoping macaroons, because you've definitely...
I really hope so too now.
Summer Army.
I mean, there's this fun fact. I don't know if that has anything to do with the choice of color, but fun fact, so while the Mara obviously came from a surname, Maramotti, Achille Maramotti chose to choose the Max from a local character who was seldom sober but always stylish.
Oh,
Do you think they were just drunk?
Drunk on pastels.
Drunk in love.
Such a mood. Sorry.
Right? I love it.
That
the
to be me
local
when I'm
character.
older.
Count Max, always wasted but stylish.
But also I love that they don't say drunk, they just say seldom sober.
Yeah, I know. I didn't want to say absolutely, but
I think it's also very, like, you know, in terms of like lavender, which I think we've been seeing come through a lot more in collections recently over the last sort of 3 seasons, in general, lavender has become like a much more of a mood in a way that yellow was a bit more of a mood and now it's moving into lavender. And I think Prada, again, to reference another Italian house, like really was like pushing the purple like a couple of seasons back. So it's really interesting to see it kind of like, you know, continued on. What I would say about lavender, it's incredibly hard to wear. I feel like it's really hard to wear. Well, for me, I'm a bit Asian, so I kind of go a bit like my.
For darker
But I think it's
quite well.
I think it would work perfectly for you.
Oh, well, thank you.
I think brunettes and lavender always go well together. Bambi eyes, brunette, lavender, match in heaven.
But, you know, again, it's like, because actually we've seen Marta Jakubowski did a lot of lavender as well, moving through into Cadbury purple. And what is interesting is that lots of, especially the London designers, have been going into like the really saturated colour, and Max Mara have stayed with their pastel. Maybe do we think that's because of the Max Mara customer maybe not ready for this full...
I think like a few seasons, like maybe was it 2 seasons back or last season? But they did a lot of their like signature kind of camel beige, and then they had quite a few bright yellow.
They had also had that pop of turquoise.
Yeah, like full yellow look, which is like canary yellow, no pastel, and that was kind of. So I don't know if it's not that. I don't know if it's that they're not ready. I think it's more maybe that it's just their vision of they prefer it to be a slightly more gradient colour.
I don't think they follow trends at all. I think they just do.
Because they always have their.
Because they've got their customer and
they always have their kind of beiges, their camels to keep it. But then they always have like these are.
Yeah, I like that even if they choose a colour, they stick with the tone on tone on tone layerings. The Zwiebel look, how we call it in German, it's the onion. It always works. It's just always super chic and I don't know, just oozes sophistication. That is so. I love a matching long glove with a coat.
So sexy.
Yeah.
I'm very much.
Karen Elson.
Yeah, I mean, like having looked at this collection, I'm now really like vibing with the sort of like latex or that plasticated kind of like leather kind of look. And you know, we have again seen that quite a lot in the spring-summer collections. We've got like obviously Richard Quinn has a lot of sort of latex involved in his designs. It's again like. Again, it's that weird soft hardness where it's like very fluid, but it's also, like the plastic kind of is slightly unnerving. Very similar to the leather, but it's kind of taken away that sort of sci-fi aspect.
It's also interesting, you can't really imagine a woman on the high street wearing something by Richard Quinn, but that PVC, you could actually see someone out there.
That skirt on the left is just, oh no, sorry, the one before. Yeah, from this collection. I don't know why I'm pointing this collection right here, right now.
The other one
collection, the most recent collection.
Previous, yes.
This one, sorry. The one on the left is just so gorgeous. Like that's.
And you know what makes it for me is the pockets. I love everything with love a pocket.
It can't just be beautiful.
And everyone looks so much more relaxed when they pose for pictures. I always look for anything to like.
And even like look at the top that's with that and the one in the middle. They're again, like we were saying. They're quite basic, but I don't look at that and go, oh, like you know, that's boring. It really works. It still looks very high fashion and I think still very runway, even though it's literally, that looks like a vest top or like a body. So yeah, I love that. And the colour, I just love it.
Tell me more about the silk. Tell me more about the silk.
I think it looks like a shot silk. That's why you're getting such a good reflection on it.
Yeah,
and all that bias cut as well with the ruffles.
Because we've, again, like satins and that shininess has been coming through as a sort of big mood in general. It was a lot of Marc Jacobs and stuff like that as well. And I feel like also there's that tie into like the incredible popularity of like the highlighter for beauty. Like actually it is about getting the light, getting the glow, reflecting and, you know, having something that's very luminous and that those kind of like very shiny fabrics create that luminosity. It like, which
I think is a very big thing. Women, like maybe for the people who aren't super bold with their prints or their cuts, you can kind of create a difference, even if it's all one tone.
It's with the
that's
fabrics.
One tone, but it's different fabrics with a leather, with then like a big bag. So it's like it's giving women a way to experiment and kind of express themselves, but without going like, oh, I'm going to wear this crazy cut or this crazy color or print. It's kind of yeah, I think they're
And I
very
think
clever
also
in the way
with
they've done that.
with the whole silk theme, it has to be tailored to perfection almost, because otherwise, if you're wearing silk, it can make you look quite unflattering in certain spaces. When you're a woman, you know what I mean. And but that's why I think, you know, they do rely on their, you know, in-house expertise of tailoring since 1951 and their high-quality fabrics, which are just always delivering. I think it's also not a big surprise what we're seeing. I mean, yes, we love the pastel and that's new, but like it's always, you know, you expect it to be good. Like I always expect them to deliver.
You kind of know what you're going to get, but still, it's like I said, you know what you're going to get, but you still kind of have that air of excitement of, I know what I'm going to get, but it's always going to be slightly different. Exactly. But I was just going to say, the little bags, the one in the middle, kind of reminds me of like, was it that little Balenciaga? Like it's,
Really?
That one that's,
yeah,
you know, like, I don't know the name, sorry. But it's kind of, that's the only thing where I'm a bit like, I understand that's going to sell really well, but I think it's something we've seen before. The bigger bag, they found much more interesting.
I don't love that strap as well. It reminds me of like, I don't know, my boyfriend when I was like 15, his like car hat belt.
Like a seatbelt.
Yeah, exactly, these kind. But they're coming back as well. Prada did them for winter.
Yeah, and they were the Burberry as well.
Yeah, I know.
Like seatbelt things. So.
Yeah.
All those 90s nightmares you want to forget.
I know, buffaloes. It's like, exactly. Oh, well.
But yeah, because I suppose actually, you know, obviously Max Mara has this kind of like real sort of reputation for, you know, mastery of craft and mastery of sort of tailoring techniques and fabrics. And yeah, I guess, you know, that bag there sort of, you know, not quite showing off all of the skills that they've got at their disposal. Like, you know, this could be that, like, to my knowledge, I don't think Max Mara's had that kind of like it bag.
No,
I can't think of a Max Mara.
It's more the it coats rather than it bags. And yes, the classical pieces like the trousers and shirts, but for me it's always been the coat. And that's what Ian Griffiths also said in one of his documentaries that I binged last night. He kind of explained that he sees himself as an architect when he designs coats and basically builds the house around its occupants and tries to, I don't know, basically.
That's why I'm so glad that they still bring it into their spring summer, because I think it would be, they're so known for their coats, so it would be a shame if they left it out for spring summer or kind of dialed it down. And and I'm so glad, because like you said as well, in English summer it's very temperamental.
The English summer.
But it's also like it's something that I definitely see, like that's why I always get excited for winter dressing, because I'm like, I fucking love coats. Like you can just sort of, and layering, and I find it so much easier. Like if you're kind of not a massive fan of your outfit, you're like, whatever, whack a great coat on over, no one knows. So I'm happy that with Max Mara you can still kind of carry on that excitement for coats into spring summer.
You can hide in it as well, like a cocoon.
Absolutely, and there's nothing as chic as a summer cashie.
Right. I like that idea of like the hiding, because it's, you know, obviously there is this kind of like real toughness and military aspect, but so there is that kind of protectiveness, and so when you've got like a, you know, a jacket and the outerwear incorporated into a summer thing, it's like that sense of protection is still with you, even if you are, you know, out and about in, you know, hot temperatures. You know, you've still got that.
Like the structured Mac or the teddy bear that you do just like want to hug yourself in.
Oh, I'm on the teddy bear. I lived in that for like 2 years. But then,
and then I mean, Topshop started making them, and you threw
everyone
yours out.
started making them, and it's just lost a little bit of its excitement now. But then, like I don't see any teddy bear here, so
I think they've moved on as well.
I think they've.
But it is spring summer.
Yeah, that's true. Did they do it for this year's?
I think they did.
They did again.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think, actually, you know, I've just noticed that three-piece suit that's been brought in on that white look on the right, and that's reminding. Do you remember that there's an outfit of Kate Moss in about 2007 wearing a pinstripe waistcoat and matching pinstripe trousers and nothing underneath?
Yes.
I was completely obsessed with it.
It's so hot. It's such a good look for like weddings as well.
Crop on the trouser.
Yeah, little crop on the trouser, and again we've got a crop on here, and I actually think because a waistcoat, when styled, could be so stuffy, like, you know, it could give you sort of like that waiter kind of look, you know, or like, you know, the
sexy waiter with nothing underneath.
Sexy waiter. but it feels very fresh, and it feels very, in the way that Kate Moss wore it, that, like back then, which had that kind of like unconventional sort of freshness to it.
Yeah.
There is that, you know, even though it's a polished look, there is that sort of like, sort of slight subversive of like, yeah, I'm wearing a waistcoat, and yeah, no, I'm not stuffy, and yeah, am I going to smash this meat?
Which is very much one of his icons, Marlene Dietrich, who's done that, obviously.
As you're saying that, though, I do think they have gone into their 90s archive and looked at some of their collections from there. Because that really does scream that, you're right.
Mm-hmm. So I think, you know, Marlene Dietrich is, you know, I think is a huge mood in general. Like, Marta Jakubowski, again, referenced Marta Dietrich and her sort of like power dressing. I think there's that kind of, like the shoulders, the kind of the slacks, things like that. And again, the sort of like the glossiness of the hair.
And I think maybe that's also where the dark lip could come from this whole film noir kind of, you know.
And women empowerment.
And women empowerment, obviously.
She wants to be alone.
Yeah,
that's true.
My only kind of criticism, which I don't even think is like specific to this show.
Yes.
I think maybe it's specific to, I keep like grouping Milan as a whole, as if it's this sort of one thing. Just
no,
Milan.
please do.
But I do think my only criticism is again kind of in, I don't know if it's actually the casting or whether it's just the kind of attitude of the Italian brands, because obviously I think the casting responds to whatever city you're in. Mm-hmm. I do think there could be, I know they have this gorgeous hijab look, but I just think there could be more diversity in terms of like, in terms of size, in terms of still kind of in the like ethnic diversity. And I also just think Italian brands as a general kind of do a bit of a fuck you to whatever's conversations are kind of happening in terms of like gender and sometimes sustainability.
I mean, let's not forget Dolce & Gabbana's China advert as well.
But also even just stuff like sustainability, like, you know, we have people here in London protesting, I mean, it was a few seasons back now, but about the use of fur, and, you know, we have, I know Stella McCartney shows in Paris, but we still have Stella McCartney, we have Vivienne Westwood, these kind of people who are very on the environmental talk and the sustainable talk. And then you kind of have Italy, like the Italian brands, which are a bit of like a, I don't think it's a fuck you to the topics, but it's just a fuck you to the conversation. Yeah, they're a bit like.
I don't think they actually, when you just mentioned sustainability, Ian Griffiths actually said, like, for example, with pieces like that, you don't have to buy a coat every season.
Yes.
You know, it's more buy better, but buy less.
That's where I was kind of going with the not specific to Max Mara. I actually think that this is an amazing, like, I think, and like we said, they are very progressive, but are we kind of applauding them for being progressive because it's in Milan?
But you were saying about finding it in the charity shop, jumper, so it is.
It has that longevity.
It does.
But it's not just about the kind of sustainability was a kind of example for a lot of Italian brands, but it's more just about the progressive conversations that are going on. It's like I said about how in New York and in London you have these kind of exploring of, like you have art school, or you have these kind of gender fluid brands, or you have people exploring. Yeah, you have people exploring, and I think again, this isn't a huge criticism because I think it also works. The traditional elements are also something that makes Italian brands so unbelievable and keeps them going throughout time and makes them so recognizable. But I do think that there is some room maybe for some building and maybe trying to engage in some of these conversations, which I know some have. Like, who was it that went furthest? Was it Gucci or Prada or
Gucci?
Versace also went. Versace also went without fur.
Like pledged to be carbon neutral as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I saw.
I mean, Fendi just kind of kicked that all out the water, but whatever.
Gucci hub. Yeah.
But you know, I studied actually a long time ago. I studied fashion in Milan at Marangoni, and then wanted to open up my own fashion brand, which I then did. But I did it in London because I, at the time, also thought it's much easier, you know, to kind of
maybe
start something.
I think maybe it's that different cities are known for different things. So London is known for championing young designers, giving them a space, giving quite experimental. New York is kind of known for its slightly more diverse, cool, maybe slightly more streetwear, urban. So I don't think it's a bad thing. it's just a point that I'm making.
You don't really hear of new
sort of-
designers in Milan, do you? You just hear the big
I feel like
names.
now it's getting much cooler. Like in the last 2 years, I don't know, maybe it's something to do with Brexit, but everyone a lot of my friends have been actually now moving to Milan, and I'm like, really? Why? And they're like, it literally, the city completely changed. It became much more cool, much more open, and much more diverse, as you said. But obviously, there's, you know, you can't compare this to New York. It's not.
That's what I mean. I think sometimes we're applauding them, which we should be, but I think sometimes it's a bit like you applaud brands for doing the minimum. Not the minimum, because they're doing like a really good job, but you do still sometimes think, okay, well, it is still a majority, like, straight-sized model.
I've been
like,
thinking
it's
recently
not
about...
kind of,
Sorry.
Oh, no, so I'm just rambling on.
I've been thinking recently about the similarities between Italy and Japan, about the traditionalism of the two countries. And I've been thinking a lot about this, actually, and about, it's really interesting how they've refined and refined and refined their looks and their food and everything that goes with the country. And they just keep it as a whole, and they know what works, and they stick with it.
Yeah.
I do
also,
think
you get that like burst of someone fighting on the outside.
I do think Max Mara, like, to give them a round of applause, I think they have kind of struck that balance between engaging in these conversations surrounding diversity and, you know, these kind of progressive conversations, whilst also still keeping their traditional and Italian roots.
Yeah,
so I will give it to them. I think it's very good.
In 2018 to use the hijab.
Yeah. This is also what I mean. It's like, that's a bit.
Yeah, like, you know, it's like well done, but also like 2018, wow.
Yeah.
How often do you see
It
it?
was 2017.
Yeah,
but it was also
I mean,
when...
in terms of a luxury market, obviously, you know, you've got, you know,
Middle Eastern
they're like the
market,
Middle Eastern market, who are obviously, you know, engaging in this kind of level of fashion, and you know, it strikes me as a almost self-evident thing to do that. So I'm glad that Max Mara got to
I completely agree,
do
but
it.
let's not forget Italy as a super Catholic country.
Yes.
Maria is watching everywhere you go, basically. So
You can't turn around without seeing the
away from the wall.
But yeah, that's why I think it is about time. You know, they started that. Completely agree with you, Bella.
Absolutely. So, yay.
Okay, I think this is it now. Time actually went much quicker than I thought, because when you have time, when you have fun talking about something as amazing as the Max Mara collection. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you.
And thank you to all my panelists, and thank you all for watching. For more extensive Fashion Week coverage, be sure to visit showstudio.com. And if you're watching via Show Studio's YouTube, be sure to like and comment and subscribe below, and we will see you next time.
Woo!